Okay, most buyers focus on location, but today we are going to show you what actually affects your profits. Today we will share two very important factors that will affect your profits, which is your entry price and also the supply of the unit in the location. So today we'll use real case study so that you can clearly see how it works. So let's take a look at this example, which is Park Colonia. So we are using this Park Colonia as an example because it's near the MRT, Woodley Station, and TOP in 2022, right? So the next example that we're using to compare is actually Jadescape. So Jadescape is also near MRT. And the reason why we're choosing these two as an example is because they are launched at the same time and also they are near MRT as well. So let's take a look at their entry price.
Okay, so let's look at the entry price of these two projects, Park Colonial and Jadescape, when it was launched. So if you can see from the chart, right, both of them are launched in 2018. And if you look at their prices over here, Jadescape, the red color line, is launched at about 1005 PSF, while Park Colonial is launched at around 1007 PSF. So there's a gap difference of about 100 to 200 PSF difference. So let's look at today, what are their profits when they are sold. The first one, we see Park Colonial, that they are bought at 1007 to 1008 PSF. They profit around 700 to about close to 900,000, which is still fairly good, right? But we look at Jadescape, another one that was bought last time in 1005 to about 1006 PSF when they were launched. Today they made profits of as high as about 1.7 million. So the difference between these two profits is actually close to around $1 million, which is why we say that when it comes to new launches, especially both given the same location and same time frame, the price that you enter can make a very big difference in terms of your profits going forward. So one factor that we want to really look at is the entry price of a certain project during a certain time frame.
So even when both projects are good, the one that you enter at a better price will definitely give you a higher profit potential. So that's why for our clients, we will look at the entry price first before anything else. So that's for entry price. Let's take a look at another example, which is the supply in the area, which is called the Treasure in Tampines. 2,000 over units, not near the MRT. It's one of the largest projects in Singapore. Let's take a look at their profits over here.
Okay, so we can see from this Treasure at Tampines, like what Joey mentioned, like it's one of the largest projects, especially in the east. I think it's the only project that is 2,200 over units. So if we see, right, same for Park Colonial and Jadescape, they also made some profits, and they're going as high now as about $1 million. And previously, over the past few years, it was about 700 to 800,000, which is really pretty strong in the location, given it's one of the newer condos in the area. And I think the last 10 years, that is the newest condo in Tampines estate.
This time we are using the 5-bedroom as an example. So it's the bigger unit that has more profits over here.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So next, what we want to say is that in Treasure at Tampines, what we want to show you here is that in the whole of the 2,200 units, actually, if you look at the 5-bedroom, there is only 110 units of it, which is only about 5%. So if you look at the whole Tampines cluster, actually in Treasure at Tampines is where you can really find a good size 5-bedroom that is at 1,007 square feet and is the new ones as compared to the older condos in the location itself. And next, we did a little bit of research and we realized that, like what we mentioned just now, anything that is 10 years from 2016 to today, that if you want to find a 5-bedroom within 1 kilometer of Treasure at Tampines, actually your supply is actually very, very low. In fact, there's no supply. There is only Treasure at Tampines, and currently, to date, now there's only 3 listings on sale. So why they can make this kind of profit is also because of this thing, because when you list out as a 5-bedroom owner, people that wants this size and wants this location and they want it new, they only can come to Treasure at Tampines. So this is the advantage the sellers would have in this certain location. That's why we come to this conclusion that supply of units in the location matters a lot as well. Okay, so in summary, we have 2 different points that we want to bring out. First one is the entry price of the project. So looking at just now the example that we mentioned, Jadescape versus Park Colonial, the entry price determines a lot when it comes to your exit in future, especially when during a same time frame when the both projects are being launched. The other example that we are talking about is supply. Like Treasure at Tampines, when you're in a location and you're buying a certain place that has limited supply of 5-bedroom, generally you will see stronger profits when you want to exit, because buyers that want the size and want the location can only come to your specific project.
Yeah, the unit types become like more exclusive. That's why that will support a stronger resale prices later on. So now let's apply this to today's market. We will use Nava Grove as an example. So this is Nava Grove in the Ulu Pandan area where we have a lot of private residential surroundings that area. But actually Nava Grove is one of the developments that is harmonized in the area. So let's take a look at the pricing.
Okay, so if we look at Nava Grove, right, we did a little bit of analysis. In the last 10 years, and if you want anything above 1,004 square feet in the Nava Grove vicinity, within 1 kilometer of Nava Grove, you actually don't have any projects that have this size and that is new. So this is one factor that we always want to focus on, because when a buyer that wants to come into this location, they want something new and a good size. Actually, the only option they have now is Nava Grove.
This is according to 2016 onwards that is within the last 10 years. So because surroundings, there are also other developments, but they are much older already.
Yeah.
So the size can be very big over there, but it's older with the older layouts whereby they have bay windows. They also have like larger balconies and also maybe planter boxes and all these.
Which can be not so functional when it comes to own stay, right? A lot of costs and hidden costs that we need to do, especially the older layouts.
So Nava Grove analysis, Nava Grove pricing.
Okay, so what we want to see is, like we mentioned just now, in terms of entry price, how do we determine whether this particular project is worth entering in today's market, right? First thing we want to see is what is currently Nava Grove's pricing at. If you see the blue color line, right, this is the prices that has been transacted in Nava Grove. And the latest one that we have, they are looking at about 2616 PSF versus the yellow line. So what is this yellow line? This yellow line is actually in the same region the launches that is being transacted at, which is currently during that point of time, it was at 2007-ish PSF, which there is a gap of 5%. So if we look back at just now the example that we did for JSK and Park Colonial, if you are going below the market averages, can we say that there is a higher chance that you can even sell at that price or make a profit going forward because you are entering much lower than the market accepted pricing?
Yeah, so this is where we see the potential whereby you are entering at a lower per square feet compared with the surroundings transacted RCR pricing.
This is how we see like safety margin, and to us is when you go into a property, more importantly, it has to be safe. And buying below averages are generally safer as when you are buying above the averages of the market transaction prices. So what we want to see next is currently what we have at Nava Grove that is still available. And if we can see, the prices now is at as low as 2005 plus PSF, which is even much lower by about 200 from the market averages. That is why we feel that in Nava Grove, there is a very high chance that in future, you will be easier to exit at a safe price range.
Actually, for Nava Grove, this 2005 per square feet to buy a 4-bedroom, actually in the market, there's not a lot of options to choose from already. So another example will be ELTA. So for ELTA, it's actually another similar comparable project, which is also harmonized. And along this is Clementi Avenue 1, whereby we have 3 projects, the Clement Canopy, the Clavon, and then ELTA. So within this area, for the 5 bedrooms, we just compare the 5 bedrooms, the bigger units. We only have Clavon 36 units and ELTA 35 units.
So why we want to use ELTA as an example, right, in today's market is also because we talked about entry price just now. So for ELTA, we are talking a little bit more on the supply in the area to say that in future, what is it going to be like based on what has transacted previously before, like in Treasure at Tampines.
So let's take a look at this ELTA within 1 kilometer, right? There's only 2 listings for sale, which is the Clavon. So again, if someone who wants to stay in this area and they want to have a 5-bedroom, for this ELTA, right, within this vicinity, because it is according to 1 km, so within 1 km, we only have Clavon for sale because based on our previous slide, right, Clement Canopy do not have any 5-bedroom. So if someone who wants to stay in this area, 5-bedroom, they can only go for Clavon because ELTA is not TOP yet. So that's why there's only 2 listings as of now at 3.8 million averagely. Let's take a look at their profits for the 5-bedroom in Clavon. They actually profit about 900 plus to 1 mil kind of profits.
Which is also very healthy, right?
Super healthy. So if you reach 1 mil for a property in like 3 to 4 years time, right, it's really a very good annualization.
So what we want to say is that the driving force behind this location is really the supply of the units that are not there, right? That's why they can achieve such profits also. If today, for example, within one click, there is going to be like 500 units of 5-bedroom, this may not be, because buyers will then have a lot of options to look at, and then they will look around before they even settle on a specific project or development, right?
Yeah, because for resale buyers, they will always want to go and see all the projects, all the listings that's available before they choose, because since they are going to pay so much amount of money already, right? So they will definitely make the full use out of it,
to find the best one,
to find the best one,
suitable to them.
Okay, so this is Clavon. So this is the Clavon profit. So based on what's available in ELTA now, we also have a very good entry price because the 5-bedrooms here are available at 2001, 2002, 2003 PSF for the higher floor. Okay, so 2001 is actually the 5th floor unit. Okay, the 5th floor unit over here. So the size is 1776 square feet. For ELTA is 1776 square feet. For Clavon is actually 1690 square feet. So in fact, for the space-wise, you will feel slightly bigger because for ELTA it's actually harmonized. In this area, there's really not a lot of 5-bedrooms. And usually 5-bedrooms people buy for own stay. Yeah, so if let's say within the next few years when it's TOP, suddenly you have one unit come out for sale, you'll be the only one who can call the price that you want. So that's what happened in Treasure and Tampines. Because Treasure and Tampines, a lot of people are buying for own stay. Big units usually families, they buy for own stay. Then suddenly if there's one unit out for sale, you really can call whatever price that you want.
Yeah. So when it backs to all this, right, at the end of the day, a lot of times in terms of project, we look a lot on demand and supply, right? When your supply is very low and you have a strong demand because of a good size unit like ELTA is going at 1,700 square feet for a harmonized project, I think the size is really, really good and the layout can be also amazing, right? So with these kind of factors in place, generally, buyers will tend to like it and fall in love with this kind of project as well.
So what drives the property profits, right? We actually look at a lot of factors in the market. So this is just two of the factors that we look at because entry price matters, the supply also matters. So not all the units perform equally because maybe some units, the smaller unit actually make more money. Some of the units, the bigger units makes more money. And then I also noticed that nowadays the developers, right, the bigger unit, they actually have a lower per square feet. Some has a higher per square feet, some of the projects. Yeah, nowadays, more of the projects, they have a higher per square feet for the bigger units. So buyer and tenant pool is also important because we also want to know who will be the buyers coming in future, who will be these people who will be supporting your prices and what are the amenities wise. So actually the timing wise is not say the most important. Most importantly is what you are buying and what is the entry price at the price that you are entering.
Okay, so I think what Joey wants to mention also is one thing that actually when it comes to a project, there's a lot of different factors that we look at before we determine whether a project is worth considering or not, right? So the one that we mentioned, yes, it's only entry price and supply, but generally there are a lot more that we want to consider and understand before we put our funds into any particular purchase, right?
Correct. So understanding these factors will actually make a very big difference to your profit. So if you'd like us to help you analyze your options for you, feel free to reach out to us. My name is Joey.
I'm Dylan.
See you in our next video.
Bye.